Hey everybody, how is everybody doing? I hope everybody's had a great Christmas and looking forward to a brand new year. It is now time that we all decide to do our top 15 or top 20 or top whatever albums of 2023, that is. And today I'm going to do my top 15, but I'm going to have 5 honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is the debut album from Oblivion Protocol, and the album is called The Fall of the Shires. And this is a continuation of the story from the album Legends of the Shires by Threshold. This album features Richard Wright, nope, wrong band, Richard West, the songwriter and keyboard player for Threshold, handling vocals and keyboards. The album is a dystopian story, and the ominous grip it brings forward is very intense and gripping. I also must mention that the album is a richly textured musical journey. There is a great combination of prog rock and prog metal with a little bit of acoustic and atmospheric elements thrown in for good measure. The melodies on all the songs are very beautiful and well done, and Richard sings with amazing passion and amazing motion, despite not being a top-class vocalist. I'll have to say the production is full, dynamic, and clean on this album. If you're a fan of Threshold, you need to check this album out. And coming in the 19th position, we have Arise, the new album by Glass Hammer. This album features a dystopian story. I think that's going to be a theme this year, and has been described as an incredible amalgamation of prog rock, 70s rock, psych rock, doom, and different, even a little bit of the 80s in there. The album has been praised for its audacity and in-your-face brilliance. The album is another great addition to the Glasshammer's catalog and is a fine example of how much the band's style has changed over the years to match the story or stories that they are telling. Coming in at number 18, we have Earthside with Let the Truth Speak. I would describe this album as a deeply emotional and often painful, beautiful piece of work. To me, the album offers a lot. You've got sprawling songs that tread the fine line between intense and exhausting, throwing an ocean of ideas at the listener and daring them to keep their heads above water is how I would describe the music on this album. The album is a magnificent journey, ripe with philosophical weight and creative wonderment, and it is highly recommended. Coming in at the 17th position is Unitopia with Seven Chambers. We have waited a long 11 years for a new Utopia album. So I would say that's somewhat of a rebirth, if you'd like. I would describe this album as a slick slice of stylish, melodic prog fusion, bringing with high drama, stirring melodies, and one of the most inspiring performances on an album this year. This is another album I think you should go out and grab and listen to. It's, in my opinion, one of their best, and I hope they continue and don't wait another 11 or so years to release another album. Coming in at number 16, we have Eloy's album, Echoes from the Past. This is a great, solid later day album from Eloy. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it gives you all the characteristics and nuances that you've come to expect and love from Eloy. The album contains many of the things most of us already love, such as Frank's highly accented vocals, the Richard Wright inspired keyboards, the soaring lead guitars, and how they even rock up a brand of Pink Floyd influenced space rock and prog. If you're a fan of Eloy or just great music, check this one out. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. All right, it is time to reveal the top 15 albums of 2023. Coming in at number 15 is the Winery Dogs' third album. This album delivers exactly what you'd expect from them: catchy hooks, riffs, funky and soulful moments with jaw-dropping shredding in between. The production on this album is damn near perfect, and the fun that the trio seems to have while playing together is nothing but contagious. Coming in at the number 14 position is Redemption by Canadian group Mystery. This album generated a lot of praise from the music community. Some of the highlights of this album are the opening track, Behind the Mirror, the title track, Redemption, and the epic finale, The Last Song. Or if you're a fan of melodic and symphonic progressive rock, you need this album, and you also need to check out Mystery's back catalog. I can guarantee it, you will not be disappointed. Every once in a while, we have an album that is released that is from a relatively unknown group. This year, we have one such great band that falls under that term, and they are called No Spin. I'm going to start off by saying I'm not sure on that pronunciation, but I'm going to refer to them as No Spin. They are a progressive metal from New Carolina. This album is a concept about the story of a mysterious house and its inhabitants. Start off by saying some of their influence on this album are definitely Dream Theater, Haken, and Devin Townsend. So if you're any fan of those three groups, you need to check this out. No Spun is an extremely gifted band, and I got to get something off my mind. I have not heard an underground band or unreleased band, however you want to call it, that is this technically impressive in a very long time. The stuff these guys pull off is right up where Dream Theater or Haken would be at their peaks. The band strikes a nice balance between old and new progressive metal. No Spun's opus is nothing short of extraordinary. Each aspect of the music is astonishingly strong, even down to the portrayal of well-established ideas in engaging ways. The production is impeccable, and the harmonious blend of melody and accessibility takes the tracks to the next level. If you are interested in listening to Opus, which I hope you are, you can find it on Spotify, Bandcamp, or YouTube. I hope you enjoy them as much as I did. All right, coming in at number 12 is the Harmony Codex, which is the seventh solo album by Steven Wilson. It is inspired by a story in his autobiographical book, Limited Edition of One, and explores the themes of memory, nostalgia, and technology. Of course, the production on this album and anything that Steven Wilson seems to touch is flawless. The biggest thing I appreciate about this album is the seamless blend of genres and styles. If you're a fan of Steven Wilson, I'd like to know in the comments below what you think of this album. Coming in at the number 11 position is a new album from Riverside, Identity. This is the band's 8th studio album. This album is somewhat of a new sound for Riverside, with a balance of traditional and new elements. The album is more hard-edged and less melancholy than its previous counterparts, and is a collection of thematically linked songs that combine to make an album that is overall more diverse and balanced. The album is a great starting point if you're new to the band, and the album is a return to Riverside's adventurous roots and is driven by the bass. The album is not a complete reimagination of Riverside's sound, but rather a collection of tricks and ideas that have been on the shelf for way too long. The album is not without its flaws. However, as some of the lyrics are moralistic and poetically lacking, is something that we don't see Marius Duda doing too often. Coming in at number 10 is another Canadian group called Crownlands and their album Fearless. This is an album that is obviously, if you've heard it, very influenced by late 70s Rush. The album is peppered with great song and pulls off some daring feats of pop and rock. The duo of Cody Bowles and Kevin Como, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, are so very deep in the 70s Rush overture that you can almost see Geddy Lee's kimono flapping about. I don't know if that's the right image that you should be thinking about, but that's what first things come to my mind. The record is peppered with great songs, like I said. Even their 18-minute opus glides along beautifully. And the second half of the record pulls off some of the most daring feats of punk rock and pop. This album is highly rated, and I suggest you check it out. Coming up in the ninth position is a group that has one of the most clever names I've heard, and that, of course, is I Am the Manic Whale, and their new album, Bumper Book of Mystery Stories. The album is a concept album, and it tells the story throughout the 8 tracks. I give praise to this album for its clever storytelling and thematic delivery, and this is a strong return to form for the band. Check this album out and check out the track Nautilus. It is a great song, and you should listen to it. Coming in at number 8 was one of the most anticipated albums when I heard that they were going to release an album this year, and that is by the group Theocracy and the album Mosaic. And I think you need to check this album out because it is one of the best progressive progressive metal albums that you will hear. Coming in at number 7 is an album that really impressed me and somewhat blew my mind. And it is RPWL's new album, Crime Scene. This is a concept album that explores the themes of criminality. The album is quite compelling and evokes potent atmospheres that run the gamut of emotions. The album does a more tasteful job of telling true crime stories than most other media, I would say. Is it unquestionably an essential addition to anyone's music collection? Yes. This is a very impressive release with mature performances by the quartet with truly excellent production values, and it is highly recommended. Coming in at number 6 is an album we waited very, very long, and finally this year we heard they were going to release Himmelbacken Volume 2. Of course, I'm talking about Moon Safari. To describe this album, I would say it is superior musically with very complex multi-part harmonies. I would also say that it is filled with dizzying time signatures and technically excellent as any superstar prog band out there. The album is a worthy successor to Himmelblacken Volume 1. The album is a testament to Moon Safari's ability to blend intricate hooks and harmonies with a wide array of music styles. The album is an obvious contender for Album of the Year, and I would suggest that this album would rank higher in my list if it had come out earlier in the year. It is a great album, a great return to form, and if you're a fan of Moon Safari, you won't be disappointed. Coming in at number 5 is a great band called Great White Nothing and their album, Hymns for Hungry Spirits, Volume 2. They are a progressive group from Atlanta, Georgia, and the album is self-recorded and has been completely self-released. The album feels incredibly theatrical to me, like you're watching a musical theater piece. Great White Nothing will always ensure that you are entertained throughout. I can't say enough about this album, but you need to go to Bandcamp and check this album as well as Hymns for Hungry Spirits Volume 1. Check them out and you will not be disappointed. Hey, it's Future Brent here. I forgot to record number 4. So in the number 4 position, we have Seven Impale's new album, Summit. I would describe this album as a smart bit of work with superb, jazz-formated, rock-infused music. The band's infinite use of genre and mastery of their instruments mean there is a wealth of things to discover within their music. This is a progressive masterpiece with great song ideas and high expressiveness. If you like Vandergraaf Generator and early King Crimson, this is the album for you. Coming in at the number 3 position is Reaching Out by Southern Empire. This album, throughout the second half of the year, could easily be my number one or my number two album. It fluctuated between those three positions pretty much right to the end here. And this is unfortunately where it ended, but it had some pretty hefty competition. I praise this album for the signature melodic fingerprint and intensity brought by the new vocalist, Sean Holton. The album retains the band's ensemble skills and cinematic atmosphere across all 7 songs. Highlights include the song Reaching Out as a brilliant reintroduction to Southern Empire, and White Shadow, of course, as the clear centerpiece. What an accomplishment considering the personal change the band went through earlier in the year. I would call it an achievement despite challenges. This is another one that you need to listen to, and I'm glad that they're back on the map, and I hope we hear more soon from this re-energized Southern Empire. Coming in at the number 2 position is Peter Gabriel's I.O. He has made a beautiful comeback album with his 10th studio album of original material. This album has been in the making for an astonishing 28 years. I.O. is a substantial late work that considers the human condition with genuine positivity, wit, and gloriously well-versed vocals. Gabriel's patient dedication has given us a masterpiece 3 decades in the making. Like I said earlier about the Moon Safari album, this album came out so late in the year that it really may have been for some people hard to put in a position this high, but unfortunately for me, it was an easy decision. It's not quite a masterpiece. I'm going to say the number 1 is definitely a masterpiece, but you couldn't ask for a closer album. I mean, these 2 albums are neck to neck. And I hope this isn't Gabriel's last album, because you know how long it takes him to make albums, but you need to check this one out too. This is a great album from a legend in the prog rock community. In the number 1 position, we have Outcast's album, The Approbation. Like I mentioned earlier, I only had one masterpiece on my list, and this is it. The Approbation is a concept album that delves into the depths of a bleak soul who is isolated in a cabin deep within dark forests and far away from civilization. The album was actually written and recorded during a rainy, cold fall and winter at a secluded cabin in, I hope I don't screw this up, Alvdal, Norway. The beautiful melodies are hauntingly beautiful, I guess. They reflect the solitude and the introspection of the soul's journey. Outcast blends old and new sounds seamlessly, drawing influences from bands like Porcupine Tree and Opeth. Their debut album is a labor of love and a testament to years of friendship and music collaborations. Another thing I want to talk briefly about this album is the production. It is not perhaps the best production, but it has that feel like you were almost there. Like it's a little bit muddy. You hear rain and thunderstorms in the background. If you listen very carefully, it really has a feeling of being isolated in a place in the cold and winter and rain, etc. So this is my number 1 album of the year, my only masterpiece of this year, and it is Outcast's The Approbation. All right, guys, that was really fun. Let's hope 2024 is as good or even better than 2023 was. Good night. Bye.